Hello people, I'm Ginnymetheral and I am a 4th generation witch. Today's video is my ever popular Almanac series about witchcraft in the month of November. I love November. I love the leaves falling from the trees. I love the decaying flowers on the ground, the spider webs in the morning glinting in the sunlight. It is beautiful. Anyway, as with all these videos, what I first of all want to do is to give you a general overview of the vibe, the witchcraft vibe that is happening over November in general. And then we'll get into the nitty-gritty details and talk about what witchcraft you can do on which day. So, general overview of November. November is the month of the dead. Of course it is. It starts with Halloween, or Samhain as us witches like to call it, which is a festival celebrating the start of the season of darkness and where the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead is at its thinnest and the dead can cross over into our world. The dead, supposedly, through tradition, like to cross over at the beginning of November on Halloween. They like to come and feast with you, to dance with you, to sing with you. And so the witches of old would leave a place setting at their table for the dead of their ancestors to join them in family mealtimes. They also would leave food for the dead out during the month of November, and food of the dead, of course, is apples. Apples have a symbolism with immortality. I've spoken about this in my previous video, and in fact I think it's in my latest Samhain video, so if you haven't seen that I'll put it up here for you. Do go and look. There's a lot of information which is pertinent to the month of November in it. My apple candle. Oh, it smells of apples. It's lovely. It smells of spiced apples actually, so it actually smells of apple pudding. Apples were symbols of immortality, so you should leave an apple on your doorstep to enable your ancestors to know that they are welcome in your home. So this is the month where, if you have dear departed loved ones, you can develop your spirit mediumship with greater aplomb because they are known to walk amongst us. The Anglo-Saxons called the month of November Blot Month, meaning month of blood. Our ancestors couldn't necessarily support their non-breeding livestock throughout the winter, so those who were not going to be used in the spring were slaughtered to feed the families over the winter. And of course, when you slaughter an animal, there is a lot of blood, and the blood runs. Our ancient ancestors had the month of November as a sort of a ritual sacrificial month to ensure that blood was spilt on the earth, and this would give us the life for the crops in the new year. If you turn your eyes to the skies during the month of November, you will see how bright and orange glows the planet Mars. Actually, funnily enough, I was driving along the other night and I saw Mars in the sky and I was thinking, gosh, it's rather big and orange at the moment. Are we sure that's Mars? Maybe I've got my astral identification wrong somewhere. But yes, it was Mars. What this means is that the ancients said that Mars was the bringer of battle. Now, battle doesn't necessarily mean, axes and clubs and war. It means battle for supremacy, battle for the love of your life, the battle for making your family healthy. It can be a battle for anything. It marks the beginning of change, and you might have battled for that change in your household, in your work, in your whatever. So the month of November, you can draw down Mars energy into your spells and use that changing, struggling, battling energy to move your own life forward. The Romany culture liked to wear horseshoe charms during the month of November, and that is because of this story. A Roman man was one day riding back to his camp in the gloaming dark. He suddenly realised that he was being followed by the 4 demons of bad luck, ill health, unhappiness and death. So he urged his horse onwards. As his horse was galloping along, it cast a shoe, and this shoe flew off and hit the ill luck demon on its head, killing him. The other demons fell back so that they could bury their brother. And the Roman man went home to his camp and nailed up that horseshoe above his caravan to show that he had killed bad luck. If you are in any part of Devon and Cornwall during the month of November, do go to one of their Ionic gateways. Metheral in Cornwall is a particularly famous one, and this is a round stone with a hole in the middle of it. And at varying times of the year, you can be birthed through this hole, so you squeeze yourself through it. It's a great thing to do during November because this is when the new year is beginning. So should you be anywhere near Metheral in Cornwall, go and squeeze yourself through the gateway, and this will bring about all those great schemes and plans and birth them into the world. So, that is my general overview. November is the season for the dead. There's lots of birthing spells to be done, and you can use the battling power of Mars. Having done the general overview, let's go down to the nitty-gritty days and look at what witchcraft you're going to do on what day. And obviously, we're going to start with the 1st of November. Samhain started on Halloween, 31st of October, at dusk and runs the whole way through until dusk on the 1st of November. And of course, this is a celebration of the start of the season of darkness. This is an ages-old celebration. In Central America, you will find that they call it Dia de los Muertos. Sorry for my pronunciation of Spanish words, I'm a bit rubbish. I'm not Spanish. I hope it doesn't sound as crass to you as it does to me. Anyway, Dia de los Muertos started over 3,000 years ago. The Aztecs celebrated this day as the start of the season of darkness, the honouring of their dead, and the celebration of a successful harvest. Of course, nowadays, the 1st and 2nd of November are celebrated with great parades and joy, and it's a celebration of life as well as an honouring of the dead. Each departed loved one would have an altar built to them, either in your home or go to the cemetery where they are laid to rest. And the altar would contain a photo, some flowers, maybe some favourite foods from them, some favourite drink, and other mementos, because of course, if you remember somebody in your heart, then they are never truly dead. Next on my list is the 4th of November. This is a tradition from the northern counties of the UK, and it is similar, I suppose, to the trick-or-treating that happens on Halloween. It's called Mischief Night, and it is when the children of the community would go out asking for pennies or bits of wood or cakes or anything and play pranks and tricks. Next up is, of course, the 5th of November. And for our foreign cousins who do not know who Guy Fawkes was, this day is the day where we celebrate the burning of an effigy of Guy Fawkes with a massive bonfire and lots of fireworks. You go out in the evening, whole communities gather together around the local bonfire and watch the effigy burn and fireworks go up and eat hot dogs, etc. Great fun night. However, this night has been going for a lot longer than Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament in the 1500s. And we've been celebrating a bonfire night around this time of year for several thousands of years. November, as I said, is the month for the dead. A bonfire is a contraction of bone fire. It when they would burn the bodies to burn the flesh from the bones and take the bones, and then they could bury them in their mounds or in their mausoleums or wherever they would bury their dead. Apart from the fact, every time there is a seasonal change, for example, the 1st of November marks us going into the season of darkness, we celebrate it with fire and light, because that will help you bring that new festival into the light. As I was saying, births start in the dark and they're shown the light. So it is this time where we have, for almost as long as we've been alive, been celebrating the season of darkness with bonfires. I mean, this bonfire can be traced back to the burning of the Wicker Man by the Druids, and this is part of the blood sacrifice, the idea that you have to let blood onto the land in order to appease the spirits and ensure that you get a good new crop the next year. These fire festivals have stayed with us, not just through the Guy Fawkes bonfire night that happens over all of the UK, but my local town, Ottery St Mary, has something called the burning tar barrels, and this is where they take huge barrels and they fill them with tar and they burn them and they carry them through the streets, and there's a million people there trying not to be burnt by this slightly dangerous activity. It's great fun. People think that it possibly came from a purification of the streets of the town, and smoke and fire cleanse and purify and banish evil spirits. The 8th of November is the time for the full moon, and the full moon is in Taurus. Taurus is a great, strong male energy, very sensible, very earthbound, and full moons are all about the culmination of your hopes and dreams and fulfilment, with a special emphasis on relationships, fertilization and romance. Moon water made on today's full moon will ensure that whatever spell you use it for has a very grounding and sensible quality about it. The 11th of November is known in the Christian faith as Martinmas, the day of St Martin. However, this is an old day for divination, both for weather divination and for divination of a slightly more morbid kind. So, if you stand at the back of your parish church on the 11th of November and at midnight, you will see the wraiths of those who live in the parish who are going to die in the coming year troop past you across the church. On a slightly happier note, if the wind on the 11th of November is in the southwest, then it will remain there until Candlemas on the 2nd of February, which means that January and December will be mild. The 20th of November, one of my favourite days of the year, is Stir Up Sunday. This is the traditional day that you made the Christmas pudding. Now this is pure pagan witchcraft, and nobody is going to tell me otherwise. You take 13 ingredients, if that's not pagan I don't know what is already, and you stir them in a direction from east to west, which is clockwise, but you start at the easternmost point of the bowl. Each member of the household must come and take a turn stirring this Christmas pudding from east to west, and whilst they do so, they make a wish. Once the pudding has been stirred up and everyone has taken their turn and made their wishes, then charms are inserted into the pudding, and whoever finds the charms will have a prediction for the following year. The traditional charms to put into a Christmas pudding are a horseshoe, meaning you will be lucky, a thimble, meaning thriftiness, a button, meaning you will remain single for another year, a ring, you will get married, an anchor, you will have a safe harbour, a boot, you will go on a journey, and finally a silver coin, meaning great wealth. When the Christmas pudding is finally cooked, you then set fire to it, because why not? And this will help the wishes of all those people go out into the universe. I have to say, I always liked that one. Every single year my mother would make us do this. She'd insist that we all came down, stirred it properly, and then, made our wishes, didn't tell anyone our wishes. It was a really big deal, and in fact I do it still with my children now. It's a marvellous echo of the paganism that has come down to us through our ancestors. 22nd of November is St Catherine's Day. Now the reason I'm going to mention St Catherine here is because she was a massive cult. She was a saint that was burnt at the wheel. So this is where we get the very famous Catherine wheel from, which is literally my favourite firework. I love a Catherine wheel. I always have. Can't get enough of them personally. This is a day where you go cattening, and if you live in Abbotsbury in Dorset, the maidens of Abbotsbury surrounding area would go to the ruins of this Norman church. They could ask St Catherine on this day to bring them a husband, and they would say this spell: a husband, St Catherine, a handsome one, St Catherine, a rich one, St Catherine, and soon, St Catherine. Yeah, that sounds quite pagan to me, especially since the church in Abbotsbury was built on a very old pagan site. The 23rd of November is the night of the new moon, and the new moon is in Sagittarius. The new moon is a time to make plans and form your dreams for the coming month. With the new moon in Sagittarius, this brings a different energy to those plans. Sagittarius is all freedom loving. They're very avant-garde and go-getting. And so, should your plans include breaking the bonds that are holding you back, this is the perfect time to set that spell in motion today. And lastly, we have the 30th of November. The 30th of November is the last day when the dead can walk amongst the living freely, for November is the month of the dead. After that, they must go back to where they came from and stay there until November comes round again. So it is considered very, very unlucky for you to go out on the 30th of November. Stay indoors, lock 'em, because you're not welcoming any spirits, because if you do, they might stay with you for the rest of the year. However, if you're in Derbyshire, you can do something called squirrel hunting. Now, I'm pretty sure that this has got nothing to do with hunting squirrels. I think it's got more to do with the fact that you can go out into the woods with the other young people at night and get up to all sorts of shenanigans. So, I don't know. If you live in Derbyshire, I would love to know your thoughts on squirrel hunting, because I actually can't find anything about it, but it sounds fascinating. I would love to know if you've got any particular traditions that you celebrate in the month of November. I really enjoy reading your stories, so do leave me a comment below. Otherwise, my monthly coven meeting is coming up, where we learn a different aspect of witchcraft each month. Do go to patreon.com and have a look if this is interesting to you. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps my channel. And I will see you very